Welcome everybody to the BTS Creative Academy podcast, episode 1. Today we'll be interviewing and having a conversation with Jim Thompson. Jim Thompson is someone that I've known for a very long time. He is a true and wonderful friend, as well as someone that I have got a lot of creative inspiration and business knowledge and general knowledge in life from over the years. So I thought he would be someone very interesting to have a conversation with and see if there's any kind of like nuggets of information that we may be able to extract from him today and share with the world. As we move forward with these Creative Academy podcasts, I'll be looking to have conversations with people in the creative world, from theatre, film, television, to publishing, to the music industry, lots of different creative industries, having conversations, trying to find it out what it is that makes them do what they do, why they do it, and if they can give you some information and advice along the way to help you in your career or your creative aspirations, and just basically sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You never know, there might be something in this for you. Can you hear yourself?
I can hear myself, yes.
Good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Good.
Because you're sat there.
Can you just talk for a second?
Yes, of course I can talk. One of the many skills that I have in this life is the ability to be able to talk incessantly for any particular amount of time on no subject whatsoever.
Should we say this is a start to the podcast? To the very first episode.
What a way to start. Here I was thinking I was popping in for a coffee and a chat,
and now you sat down.
Stick me in front of several cameras, some suspicious lighting.
1, 2, 3. On the stage.
And some very nice chairs, though. I do like the chairs.
Good.
I think the chairs are the star of the piece.
So, being the first podcast, there's probably going to be a few mistakes, a few errors, but we're starting out, aren't we?
Well, I think the first mistake is getting me and you onto a podcast.
Because you never know what's going to come out. Once we get relaxed and we feel our way into this.
Well, let's just see how relaxed I get, because if I start snoring, then you're in trouble.
Brilliant. So it's probably going to get messy. Could it get messy? I don't think it's get as messy as some of our early day conversations, because we've known each other for a long time, haven't we, Jim?
Oh, I would say so I'm trying to think of when Rope was. I think that was 98?
No, because I didn't start doing any theatre until 2001.
No, because you were doing the 2020 thing for Hollow Council.
Yeah, but that was actually after 2020. No, so 2020. 2020 project, that was.
Right.
Harlow 2020, but that didn't come out of the millennium.
Oh, didn't it?
No. So I didn't,
well, it just feels like we've known you.
The first show that I did here was Rope.
Yeah.
And that was in 2002.
Yeah.
So that was 21 years ago.
Wow, 21 years ago.
Yeah, I met you on this very stage.
Yeah.
21 years ago.
One of my resounding memories of Rope, aside from meeting you for the first time, was the fact that my character had to smoke during that show.
Right.
And it was back in the days when you could actually smoke on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I possibly smoked more cigarettes through that entire rehearsal process than I did through most of the rest of my life. Just because it was
the crazy things we do for theatre.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, great show. I had a terrible chest, but great show.
It was an amazing opening, that show with the cigarettes, where you and Ian Atfield were in the dark smoking, and you had just the light of the cigarettes. There was no other light.
Yeah, it was like that strike of a match. And because it had to be consulate cigarettes as well, because it was all period.
Right.
So it had to have like the all white looking cigarette. Because the modern cigarettes with the sort of like the fake cork filter just didn't exist when it was set in that time.
So
yeah.
It always, that was like my early days of doing theatre, doing shows like that. And actually, if I think back, that was a massive moment for me, seeing that opening of that show and realising the creativity that can go into a production that isn't just about switching the lights on, about some actors on the stage. Sometimes it's about these tiny little moments.
Yeah. It was there was a really nice sort of like mood lighting where we had the window and the light coming through the window.
Yeah.
And it sort of set the tone really, because you weren't quite sure what was going on. And obviously if anybody's seen the Hitchcock movie, you kind of know what happens. But yeah, I went into that show thinking I had to do an American accent.
Right. Okay. Did you not?
No.
I can't remember.
No, it was a British. It was all set in Britain.
Oh, was it?
We
did the British
version.
Yeah.
But because I'd seen the Hitchcock movie.
Yes. Yeah.
With Jimmy Stewart, I was like, oh right, okay. I was thinking, oh god, I'm gonna have to do like
a Jimmy Stewart. How's your Jimmy Stewart
American accent or something like that? That's like, oh god. But the one thing I did learn from that show, because Alan Jones directed it, and this is something that I've done when I've directed shows, is the button method of directing.
The button method?
The button method.
Okay.
Right?
No,
so you get your script, right, and you design your set, and then you draw it out on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And then every character in the show is a button.
Okay.
And what you do is you read through the play on your own as a director,
right, and
you move the buttons around this bit of paper of the set so you can work out sight lines. So
nice.
When I've been to see a show,
and so does that help the actors, or is that purely for the director to understand what's going on? Like, did he share that with you? Because as an actor in it, I don't remember seeing the buttons. I don't remember ever him sitting down with me and going, "This button is you, Martin." Or
no, I asked.
You asked.
I saw his little diagrams.
Okay.
And because he had little circles written, I was like, "What's all this in?" I'm ever the inquisitor. I will, if I see something and I don't understand it, I'll go, "What's going on here then? How does this work?" And that's how I've kind of picked up on sound and lights and stuff like that. Yeah. I think it's very, very important as an actor,
yes,
for you to understand all of the other elements that go into putting a show on. So when you do become a director, you kind of go, right, okay, I know what tools I've got at my disposal, and I know what I'm looking for. It gives you better understanding of how creative you can be if you've seen how things work.
Yeah. Like,
for instance, when we did a production of The Witches, our mutual friend Mr. Kyle Jaggers and his daughter Amy directed that, but it was about sort of getting Jared to create loads of pipe work under the set. So when I designed the set, so I knew that I had to make it big enough to incorporate all of the pipe work. So when all of the witches, I'm not doing any spoilers here. I mean, we're all fairly. Yeah,
if you don't know the witches,
yeah. So
spoilers ahead.
Yeah, when the witches all end up being turned into mice, we had all this like green smoke that emanated from literally every part of the set, and as the witches all kind of turned into these mice puppets, we were able to kind of go, all right, this is what we can do. If we do it this way, we can incorporate it. So yes. So anyway,
going back to, so how did that help you as an actor? Then how has that helped you understanding the pipe work and the special effects that might be in a show?
Because then you can kind of say, all right, well, I need to stand here, or you might be able to suggest to your director, if I stand a bit further back, then I've got the ability to slip off this way while there's a light and change going on and the smoke up there. You might be able to say, maybe if we could just incorporate a little trapdoor here or something, you can make suggestions to the production as a whole to say, oh, I've had an idea that might make this, what you're trying to achieve, easier. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the director will kind of go, I appreciate your input, but that is a bit too left field, or it's not practical
work,
this budget or whatever.
But really, as an actor, you want to be engaging with the director, don't you? You don't just want.
Oh, it's got to be a two-way relationship.
It has, hasn't it?
You've got to give back.
There's
as well
very
as
few...
giving out from an acting point of view. I've been in some shows where I'm saying a line, and I've gone, oh yeah, because of X, Y, Z, and they've gone. The director's gone, what do you mean? So the director hasn't understood fully what the text is, whereas I as an actor have, and had to kind of say, no, well, I'm saying it because of X, Y, Z. And they go, oh right, yeah, I didn't actually understand what that line meant.
So within all your experience goes within the process of being an actor, all the experience of doing the lights, doing the sound, creating the set.
Generally being involved creatively, full stop.
What part of the theatre experience have you enjoyed the most, would you say? Is it being an actor? Do you always come back to that?
Yeah, always come back
to that. So in discovering these other things, you haven't gone, oh, now I'm going to just do directing. Now I'm just going to do lighting.
There is a certain element of satisfaction when you, as a director, have got every last opportunity and last bit of creativity out of your cast. Probably one of my proudest moments was just before lockdown, and I directed teachers, John Godford's teachers at the Playhouse, and I'd done it 6 years previously here at Vicky Hall. But because we were coming back to the text, it was the same cast, same director, 90% the same design of set, but we were playing in the rounded instead of a cross arch. So we had to tweak certain elements. But because we were coming back to it, whilst we already had our characters established as a cast, we were able to explore the text a bit more. So we were actually adding more to the performance because we'd had a bit more time to go, oh yeah, that meant that, so this means you've got to play it in this way, which is something that, because we did it initially with like a week's rehearsal and then a week's performance. Second time we did it, because of everyone's work commitments, it was a case of, right, well, we've got like some evening performances, rehearsals here, we've got a few afternoon rehearsals there, but we had a bit of time to really kind of explore things more. And it was the only time where I've, as a director, sat in an audience. This was the last night of the show. Everything had just gone the best it had ever gone, and my cast got a standing ovation, which I've never experienced as a director. I think I've only ever experienced it once, which was the first show I ever did here at Vicky Hall, which was Slice of Saturday Night, which is a musical. I don't really do musicals.
So when you say you haven't experienced that, how did that make you feel as a director? What was that feeling? That
is the biggest buzz. The biggest buzz.
So you're sitting there in the audience,
yeah,
whilst your cast is on stage.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. What's going on? Your cast is on stage. Go back to that moment.
Well, yeah. So the play finishes, and it's quite a poignant finish. The way that I did it, there's a sort of melancholy of, this is the end for the play. This is the end for the students in the production, and you anticipate there's going to be an applause, but it was packed. And then one person stood up and I was like, oh, that's nice. And then it's sort of like a wave of emotion, I suppose, when everybody else then stood up as well. And it just kind of, it's like it just wells up and kind of it catches you in the throat, and you're like, oh, wow, and you're so elated. You're so elated for your cast members.
It's a funny thing with directing, isn't it? It's if you have that moment, there's this recognition for others. You're giving to others.
Oh God, so you're like the proudest parent ever.
Yeah, but then you receive, don't you? What you receive from that.
You know, I suppose this kind of boils into why you're an actor. If you're in it because you want to be rich and famous, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. However, if you're in it because you like being the centre of attention and taking plaudits and compliments, then that is really what you're tapping into. Because the one thing you want as an actor, director, or any sort of, if you are putting yourself out there, what you want is for people to confirm and validate you as a creative. So if they're coming up to you and went, "Oh my God, that was brilliant. What them guys did there, that was excellent." That's feeding into your ego and validating you as a creative. And I think that really is the essence of what we do, what any actor, performer, director, anybody in the creative industry, if you are validated by other people coming up to you and appreciating your work and what you've done, and that they've enjoyed it, that their lives have become enriched a bit more by having experienced that, that is what it's all about.
So I'm going to pause you there.
Okay.
Because you know at the beginning how I said this is the first podcast, we might make mistakes.
Yeah.
Might be a bit messy. I think I've made a technical mistake.
Oh, what have you done?
I didn't put one of the cameras on aeroplane mode, and someone's calling me, and it's turned off the recording, I think. So we're going to check that. I'm going to see.
Thank God we're on the podcast. Then,
yeah, let's see. While we got to hold on.
All right. This is. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm just going to do a little running commentary where Martin has had a look at one of the 3 cameras, and he's just come back to his chair. I'm not quite sure whether he's actually bothering with this or not.
So it didn't turn it off, which is good. But yeah, so that's fine.
But you've not turned it on airplane mode.
I've not fiddled with it because it's working fine. So whoever was calling me can wait. Basically, because this is more important today.
Unless it was Hollywood.
Unless it was Hollywood, of course. Yeah. Well, Hollywood's on strike at the moment, aren't they? So.
Oh, God, yeah, Hollywood is on strike.
So we don't need to worry about that.
Yes.
Hence our time is free.
Oh, marvellous.
Hence our time is free. But so let's go back to that. Why we're doing this why we're doing this as an actor. For the fame, you touched on fame there a bit, and you're doing it for the wrong reasons if you're seeking fame. Why do you feel like that?
Because then you're not in it for the art. You're not in it for the desire, the inner need to be creative. I am literally quoting Andrew Pragnell's last play here.
Okay. Okay. What does he say?
So we recently did Thompson Promotions, which is my theatre company, and one of the things that I've been able to do is enable my brother-in-law Andrew Pragnell to stage some of the last 2 plays that he's written. And this last one was called Inheritance, and it was about 2 painters and decorators working in a big house that turns out to be a bit haunted. And my character was a musician, and the other painter and decorator was basically a non-creative. And his character said, what's the point in doing it? You don't get paid for it. And my character says, it's not about being paid for it. It's just about the inner need to be creative. It's just part of me soul.
Do you think we develop that, or do you think we're born with that? Because some people don't get it. I talk to some people that don't do this, and they don't get it at all. They don't understand. Why don't you get a proper job? That's, you know,
Well,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah,
I've
yeah.
had for most of my life.
Well, I know
Why
some
don't-
people that have, when they've gone to their parents and said, I want to be an actor, and they've gone, all right, we will support that. However, we would prefer if you got a trade first, so that when you're not working as an actor, you can still be earning money.
So
And
what about those people that don't support it at all? Those parents that go,
well, then you
don't,
run,
that's
I
ridiculous.
suppose, I'm not a parent, so...
Or partners sometimes get it through partners, don't.
Yeah, I suppose if you do that, do you run the risk of them rebelling?
Not being your authentic self.
Yeah.
You know, that's quite important, isn't it? It's not, you're not being true to yourself if you don't fulfill this creative need within you.
I think there has to be a certain element of realism, though. You know, you
Yeah.
can't, if you are... I'm in quite a fortunate position. You know, I'm self-employed. I've got a graphic design business that is doing well. I am doing more and more public speaking coaching with all my years of acting and stuff like that.
So you've managed to take all the years of experience in acting in theatre and turn that into a business into skills that you can use elsewhere to bring in an income.
Yeah, so I've been a drama teacher for many years in like after school clubs, all the way up to one point I was a lecturer teaching BTEC drama at college. And there are certain skills that you learn in how to, in learning how to teach and relay information, and that kind of spills over into direction as well, because you've got to have the ability to be able to have, sorry, just looking up, I get very expressive with my hands. So taking information and understanding how you relate to the people that need to know the information. So as a director, you're teaching them the staging, how to perform, how to respond as their characters. With the teaching, you're kind of teaching them like breathing skills, projection, body posture, body language, all these different things. And that then has spilt over into going into the corporate world and taking people who present and relay information, whether that's to customers or to their sales team, or, you know, if they've got a product and they need their sales team to know about the key selling points of their product, how do you do that? And so understanding sort of like presentation skills and generally the relaying information and how you do it clearly and succinctly without going off on tangents and things like that, which unfortunately I'm terrible at doing. I will wander off on a tangent at a moment's notice. However, when you're in the confines of this is your task that you need to accomplish, it kind of keeps your mind focused a bit. So yeah, so the years and years of doing that has enabled me. I mean, I don't really do much acting. I would love to do much more. However, there is a certain element of being realistic about what I can do, what is achievable.
Not everyone can be an A-lister. Not everyone.
No,
can,
exactly.
Because
you know, and there are some people. You know, Jo Bacon, for instance. She played Martin Colton's mother in Love Actually. And she's done other bits and bobs. She's been in Him and Her, and she was in the Horrible Histories movie that was just out a few years ago. And she is a jobbing actress. You know, she lives in a flat. She, you know, she's not a big swanky A-lister. I don't think she wants to be. I think she's happy. She can pay her bills doing the thing she loves. And I think if you are happy doing that, then you are doing things for the right reason.
Mm-hmm.
If your ultimate aim is to become the biggest Hollywood A-lister ever, that's all fine and well, but don't pin all of your hopes on that at like the age of 15.
I think what people I've seen a lot of the younger people coming up seeking that fame, that realise it's actually quite hard work, this acting, this
It's
getting
bloody
involved
hard
with
work.
theatre, this getting involved with film.
You've got to have rhino thick skin, because you've got to learn how to take that word no on the chin, you know. And I've got a pretty big chin, so.
Whereas maybe some of their fame and validation has moved into other things as well now. It's moved into social media influencers, and they can Love Island and I'm a celebrity. I don't know
who wants to be the next TikTok viral sensation.
Exactly. So that fame thing is, I feel like it may have moved away a bit from acting. That thing that I'm going to be an actor, that's how I'm going to be famous, and they can just go and do things like that now. But if you want to do the art of acting or directing, it's hard work. There is a process to it.
Well, it's interesting because Paris Hilton, when she was
like the first influencer, wasn't she?
She was the first celebrity who was famous just for the sake of being famous. And I think everyone kind of looked at her and kind of went, hang on a second, she has no talent, she doesn't do anything, and yet somehow she's famous. I mean, aside from the fact that she was the daughter of a billionaire. But yeah, and that all spiraled off from that, and Big Brother, normal people thrust into the spotlight, and what goes on from that. Like you said, Love Island, Geordie Shore.
With all of those things, I think
all of those things
from people that are me and you that are actors, and we talk about this. It's sometimes you hear a bit of frustration and a bit of that kind of thing when you talk about like celebrity TV and reality TV.
Yeah.
Because there's no creativity in it.
Yeah.
There's no work in it. There's no imagination in there, is there?
You say that, but the situation with Towie is that they do have a script.
True. Yeah.
It's, what is it called? Scripted realism or something now, isn't it? It's not a reality show. They had to adjust it because people went, well, hang on a second, it's not actually just.
Yeah.
It's not like a documentary.
Yes. Yeah.
So
maybe there's a lot of creativity around those programs.
Sorry, say that again?
A lot of creativity happening around those programs then to change it into, it's like a midway between reality TV and a soap, I guess.
Yeah.
Those things have become, haven't they?
Yeah. It's almost like improving, really. With improv theatre, you get given a scenario and you get given your character roles and you go, right, and then you're going to have an argument.
Yes.
They go, all right, okay. And then they go into it and somehow manufacture this argument out of nothing.
You had a period of time where you was doing a lot of improv stuff, weren't you? Even when you went into comedy, stand-up comedy for a while.
Yeah. With Jim Bambaramba. Hello everybody. I'm Jim Bambaramba.
Where did he go? Where did he come back from? Where has he been?
Oh, I've been very busy. I've been running my own taxi business, but since all the nightclubs in Harlow, they're all closed now, because everybody got into fights.
So is that where we used to meet Jim Bambaramba?
Jim Bambaramba was a weird persona because I was the only driver in the group.
Right, okay.
And so I became de facto taxi driver.
The group? A group of friends?
Yeah, a group of friends of which you became part of.
Oh, right, okay. I have vague memories.
You were one of the only other drivers.
Yes.
So I didn't have a proper nickname, and so our mutual acquaintance Gemma spent a whole evening whilst intoxicated trying to come up with a nickname for me.
Okay.
And all sorts of different things were coming out, and she said, "What about Jim Bambaramba?" And I went, "Oh, that's got quite a nice ring to that."
And then it stuck.
And I kind of jokingly turned it into this like, I don't know where his accent's from. I think I said at one point it was from Peru or something.
And it just evolved.
It just evolved
into what started off as a drunken night bit of fun, conversation, evolved into a stand-up performance.
Yeah, so I love the English language, and I love how you can like play around with certain things, and thinking of it as a way of introducing a concept that a foreigner learning the English language, and how there are very weird things within the English language and how you can kind of relate on that. And yeah, so that was kind of how I'd done a stand-up workshop, which was like over about 8 weeks, where we understood, like, found out the art of telling a joke and how there are different jokes that you can tell. So you've got like the art of misdirection and stuff like that, where you can be talking about one thing and go off on a complete different.
I personally thought it was hilarious when you did stand up. I think that's some of the best stuff I've seen of you on stage, and I think the majority of the people in the room did as well. I really enjoyed it.
I did one.
I was always shocked when you came away, when you didn't pursue it further. When you came away from it, I was always like, oh, I thought I saw Jim having his moment there, and then I didn't see it anymore, and I was like, oh,
confidence.
Oh, and what made the confidence stop?
I don't know, really.
It's a funny thing, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
That confidence to do something.
I think I had too much pressure, put too much pressure on myself to try and come up with new material.
Right.
And I think I was struggling to come up with new material, and I had too many other distractions going on in my life as well at the time.
The persona was great. The confidence was definitely there for the persona, the character.
Yeah.
And the original material that you had was definitely there.
Yeah.
So it was just the putting in the work to move that forward.
Yeah, I think I think this is why you get a lot of stand-ups work with other writers. So you establish your persona. You understand, right, this is my angle. This is this character's angle. And then you get a team of people who sit around and go, oh, what about this for a joke? You know, if you watch like comedians that do TV shows like Russell Howard or like that, at the end, when all the credits come up, you will see written by Russell Howard and
a stream of names.
Additional material from such and such.
Yeah, and when you're starting out, you don't have that.
No, of course not. No, and which is why I think it is really admirable. You know, I do take my hat off to those people who go out week in, week out and do comedy clubs. You know, there's a lady, Fiona Ridgewell, who is up and coming and is really starting to make a name for herself. And she works her arse off, you know, week in, week out, doing gigs. And it's only by doing that regular amount of work that you start to then really develop your material. There's only it was very much a character monologue, what I did. What you really need, I think, personally, to be a really quality stand-up is you need that ability to be able to interact with an audience.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to deal with hecklers. You need to have that spontaneity.
So what you was doing a performance.
I was doing a performance. I think that is
you was doing a one-man show, and if someone got involved with that one-man show, it comes off script, and that's not part of the script.
Yeah, I mean, I came off script once, and that was just a lucky accident. Mm-hmm. So Jim Thompson did this whole thing about accents. So I first come to this country as land in London, and then I ask directions, and I look for a big pile of apples and pears I have to climb. So we're going on about the sort of the Cockney accent, and then I talk about Scousers, and then I said about then you have the Geordies. Who can understand the Geordie? And at that particular gig, there was a guy, Graham, his name was, and because I'll never forget that. he was supposed to have caught a flight from Stansted. So this was in Bishop Stortford, in a pub in Bishop Stortford. And he'd already been singled out by a couple of the other acts before me. I was like third on the bill. And I had a joke that I knew was a Geordie joke. And the joke goes, a woman goes to a Geordie doctor and says, "Doctor, I've got a bit of a problem. My vagina smells of coconut." And the doctor says, "Wait, it's bounty." And I got this Graham, I invited Graham up onto the stage to do this joke. And my reason for doing it was as because I cannot do the accent.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was whispering like his part to him.
Right. Okay.
And he was like, "Am I playing the woman like?" And it's just like, no. It's like, it was really hard work. But the audience loved it. And I think that's why you said, I was probably in my element at that time. Because I was getting that interaction. I was interacting with the audience. I had come off script. It was terrifying, but I knew all I had to do was get him to deliver the punchline of a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And then get him off stage and then go back on script. And whilst that was a wonderful, wonderful high, I'm not sure I could recreate that. And I think that possibly was why I stopped doing it, because it was like, well, that's as good as it's ever going to get.
That was that moment in time.
Yeah.
That was that chapter.
Yeah.
You did that, you learned from it.
Yeah.
You moved on.
I'll still try and incorporate humour into the things that I do. I network for my business, and I always try and incorporate some humour in that. There was one time I couldn't make my networking meeting because I'd caught COVID, and so I sent in a little email for somebody to read out, and it started off with apologies for not being able to attend. But turns out it wasn't a lateral flow test I picked up, so I don't have COVID. But unfortunately, apparently, it now turns out I'm pregnant. So there's still elements of humour that I try and incorporate
into your daily life.
Because one of the things that I found that is, if you can get somebody to laugh, you relax them. And when you're dealing with people, if you're constantly dealing with people you've never met before, if you can get them relaxed in your company, they're much more susceptible to ideas and things like that.
Another place that I've noticed you do that, one of your other many skills and places where I've seen you in your element, is when you've been, and I don't know if you'll be upset with me bringing this up on here, because hopefully if there's any younger audiences watching, when you have played Father Christmas. Is that a way to put it? Played Father Christmas?
No.
when you've been the big man himself.
Oh yes.
Which how many years have you been doing that now for?
Oh, I think I've been Father Christmas for at least 1,768 years.
See,
I've been Grotto Santa since 2005. Yeah. So, oh my God, that's 18 years. 18 years.
18
I had 1 year
Christmases.
off. I had 1 year off to play the Ghost of Christmas Present,
Right, okay.
which effectively is Santa Claus.
Claus in another.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that's been.
And in a way, that's mixing both that performance of an actor and that stand-up.
Well, it's
sitting down in the chair, and being spontaneous.
Yeah, we're going back to improv. Basically, is what it is. You go back to improv and you are responding to a live audience, live suggestions. The kids are coming up asking you for various things for Christmas. I said, "Oh, what would you like for Christmas?" And they said, "Oh, I'd like some cheese." You go, "Oh, cheese? Goodness me, any particular type of cheese, or like a Roquefort or a Camembert or?"
And you just have to take that moment.
You just got to roll
with
with
that
it.
child, and you just have to go with it, don't you?
Yeah. You have to roll with it.
Yeah,
And,
you can't pause or look for the question, or you just have to have a conversation.
Yeah,
That's engaging and fun and funny,
but also, so when COVID hit, I stopped doing the grotto Santa ring, and I was I think pretty much all of Santas that year were forced to go.
Yeah, and you couldn't go to see Santa, could you, in 2020?
No, exactly.
That would break all the rules.
Yeah, and
so what did the children do then if they couldn't go to see Santa?
So I set up Santa on Zoom with my friend Ash of Intercounty Computers. Basically set me up. He built a booking website for me, and I utilised Zoom because the chats weren't long enough for me to need a paid version. Sorry, Zoom. But a single child chat was 15 minutes. Now, in a normal grotto, you get 5 minutes max, depending on how big the family is. Yeah. And a kid comes in. And this is the thing that has always kind of bugged me about Santa, is that all year long the kids are being told by their parents, "Oh, well, Santa will know because Santa knows everything," and yet the second a child goes into a grotto in like a supermarket or a garden centre or an activity farm or whatever, the first question that Santa says, "Oh, what's your name?" It's like,
hasn't got
no. Santa should already know that. Santa should know their name, how old they are. When their birthday is,
good behaviours through
good
the
behaviour,
year.
no
bad behaviour,
so this then enabled parents to book with Santa, and then I sent a load of questions to the parents, and they answered the questions. I had that information with me, so when I chatted to the kids appeared on the screen, and I knew everything about them, and that was a big turning point for me with regards to how great Santa can be. The other thing is
for you,
for me, absolutely, but I think also for the parents that have had that experience and being able to see that, because the kids are kind of like looking around, going, "How does Santa know that? Wow, that's amazing." It was a shame that once grottos reopened, the parents, despite saying, "Oh no, we'll definitely come back again next year," because I sent a little questionnaire after the chat, and they all vowed that they would absolutely come back the following year, and like it's dwindling returns really. Every year we do it, less and less come back.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's just people. It's part of their Christmas routine is they go out, they do their Christmas shopping, they take the kids to see Santa. There is just something about it that is a bit more traditional, I suppose. The die-hard families that I have stuck with me, they love it, and I'm incredibly grateful for them for sticking with me on this. It tends to be families where the child has an element of dealing with autism as part of their makeup, and so the social anxiety of going out and waiting in a queue is too much for them to handle. So the understanding of, I can be there, you can say, right, at this time you're going to be chatting to Santa, it's all very definite, and so those kids are the ones that I tend to have stayed with me for longer. So
someone that didn't discover you during COVID, so someone new, coming to see Santa on Zoom, where would they find you?
SantaOnZoom.co.uk.
It's SantaOnZoom.co.uk.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Simple as that.
And they can book you in.
You can book in. There's the calendar. You can book online. You can book a single kid. You can book siblings, which is a bit of a longer chat. You can book. You can book for your under two, but to be honest, you don't get much of a conversation from an under two. And you can record. You can get a recording of the chat for posterity, or if you want to blackmail your kids in 18 years' time. And what's new for this year? It's been happening, but I've never had an official sort of product to sell. Is if you've got if you're a primary school teacher and you've got a classroom that would like to all meet Santa, then you can Zoom, because a lot of schools have got like these smart boards now, so you can kind of appear. I can appear as Santa on a smart board and chat to all the kids in a class, and that's been quite good because I can chat to English expat classes. I've done Spain. I've spoken to kids in Manila, in the Philippines. I've spoken to a little girl who was in Peru. That's the beauty. I do have a regular 2 customers from America who basically they kind of accept the time difference. They're like one of the, I can't remember whether one of the earliest or one of the latest ones I do in the day. But yeah, they kind of they judge it so that it fits in with both our time frames.
Because I know you do have a big lot of regulars that do come back.
Yeah.
What is it about what you're doing that they choose to see you over that shopping mall Santa, that Santa that they can visit when they're out shopping, or they can pop in and see? Why do they choose to come back to you?
Oh, it's the believability, because my Santa, me as Santa, knows everything. And it's not just a case of going, oh yes, well, I've been fed this information. If they come year in, I've got all of the information from the last year and the year before and the year before that I can look back at.
You almost become like a part of the family, like a distant uncle.
Well, exactly.
Or a grandparent.
And it's like a case of catching up, going, oh yes, so you moved, have you? Because there's one girl who this will be their fourth year, something like that. But I know last year that they moved house, because it's a weird thing, because the way that Santa was coming into the house, I was using a magic key initially, and last year when the information came through, all of a sudden I was coming down the chimney. I was like, oh, hang on a second.
Why has that changed?
Have you moved house? Oh, goodness me, I did enjoy coming through the balcony door and things like that. And now we've got the chimney now. You must remember not to light the fire before I come down. Oh, I don't want to get singed bottom, do I? And you say the word bottom to a kid, well, they're creased up, aren't they? So yeah, it's the continuity. There was one kid that I chatted to who was nervous about going for an operation, and it doesn't always have to be jolly. Since Santa can have a sensitivity and a wisdom of somebody of his age, that you can kind of, you can say, look, it's all right. This boy, had issues, and he'd been raising. He was quite an inspiring lad. You do meet these kids that you kind of go, wow, these are amazing children. And he'd been like raising money for the hospital ward that he'd been being treated at, and he was having to go back in for an operation, and he's really nervous about it. And as Santa, I was like, well, often when faced with a big event, often the anticipation of it is greater than the actual doing of the event. And then you get the parents kind of all welling up and kind of going, see, even Santa's telling you that it's going to be all right. And you can add that, that element that if the parent has been asking the child to do something, or trying to reassure the child about something, to have Santa back the parent up is something quite magical for the parent. It's not just about the kids.
Having also done some Santering myself.
Well, I think you probably had the hardest that I've ever heard about.
Oh, go on. What was that?
The child's last Christmas.
That was on the first year that I'd done it.
Oh God, that was just
where the young kid. It was there. Yeah, I'd done the routine. Everything was fine. The little boy was really happy and pleased, and he, when some of these kids, when they come in to see you as Father Christmas, they look at you and you can see the magic in their eyes.
Yeah,
they give you this look that you don't see anywhere else. Like they sit there and they're, wow.
Yeah, It's the eyes, isn't it? It's the eyes that always do it.
You can see people.
There's like saucers.
Yeah, they are starstruck, and beyond, they can't believe where they are and who they're getting this opportunity to speak to, and it was really nice. And I noticed at the back of the room the dad was standing there, and he was crying, and that does happen sometimes. They become overwhelmed with emotion, the parents, when they see the way that the child reacts. But afterwards, he came over and he was like, "Can I give you a hug?" It's my son's last Christmas, and this meant,
it just breaks your heart.
Yeah, this meant everything, and yeah, the reward. It's so rewarding, isn't it?
There is something really magical about Santa. About what Santa represents.
Yeah, and it crosses religion, it crosses different cultures.
That is the one thing about Santa on Zoom is when you get inquisitive kids,
right?
Because they go,
well, you get them everywhere, don't you?
Yeah, but at least
particularly on Zoom.
Yeah, with Santa on Zoom, because I've got a 2-screen setup. So I've got my laptop that I do the Zoom call on, and then I've got my main computer where I'll have like the information. And sometimes that's information about the kids. Sometimes that is a quick tab alt flick to a different screen where there's like facts about Santa, like trying to remember the names of the reindeer.
Yeah.
What's all the names of the reindeer? You go, well, do you remember all the names of my reindeer? Thinking, I'm going to palm this back to you here, kid.
Yeah.
How fast does your sleigh fly through the air, Santa? Well, control tab. Well, it travels at over 6 million miles per second. I'm plucking in numbers there. I don't actually know what it is, but I do have that information.
You do have the official statistics.
Yeah. How old are you, Santa? I have sort of. So the Feast of St. Nicholas is on the 6th of December, and I've sort of piggybacked on that to say that that's Santa's birthday, which is great because if you've got kids who are celebrating their birthday quite soon as well, around that same time, it all kind of fits in. You go, oh, well, I'm celebrating a birthday as well. Have a guess how old I'm going to be this year. So you can kind of like incorporate, but yeah, knowing all the bits and bobs about all the little nuggets, like the Dutch celebrate Sinterklaas, where they put their shoes outside and Sinterklaas puts the presents in the shoes. Or like in Poland, they celebrate on Christmas Eve. They open all the presents on Christmas Eve. It's like understanding all these different sort of nuances of different cultures or different countries that kind of do things slightly differently to the UK. But yeah, it's quite fascinating. There's a really interesting book, The Undisputable Science of Santa Claus, which is written by, I don't know if any, The Curious Case of Rutherford and Fry is a podcast, where basically 2 scientists who kind of try and look at different theories and stuff like that. But Hannah Fry is one of the authors of this, and it kind of looks at, all the, if a scientist were to look at the mechanics of how Santa exists and how he can deliver to every child across the entire globe and things like that. There's little elements of that which I've kind of incorporated in to make it a bit more like, for instance, I do not take any more Santa on Zoom calls after 12 noon. In fact, actually, I'll cut off at about 11 a.m. on Christmas Eve. And they go, oh, right, okay. So the reason is because at 12 noon, Santa should be delivering presents over in New Zealand. He's off at work. So all that morning, I'm like, oh yes, well, I've got a little bit longer before I then start delivering presents. And obviously, whoever gets that last slot on Christmas Eve feels really special because they are the last child that Santa spoke to before he started delivering presents.
You really do, mate. You really do work hard at making this a magical experience for them, don't you?
Oh God, it is the most important thing to me that the magic of Christmas is alive and well and continues. There's nothing better. I think this kind of taps into my first acting experience. It is the joy and the wonder of magic that I can give kids as Santa, that kids can experience being part of like a theatre school that has adult actors around them. So I was at the age of 8, I was involved in a production of Joseph and His Technicolor Dreamcoat in the Gulbenkian Theatre in Newcastle. And this theatre company had gone round all the schools in the area and found some of the best kids to be part of the chorus, going on like the balcony. And I was just like surrounded by all these amazingly talented adults, and the lights, and it was just like this magic world in this like professional theatre where you had to make sure you didn't touch the lights around the mirrors because you burn yourself. and all of these sort of like the applause, the audience, the live band as an 8-year-old, experiencing that sound, feeling the vibration through the stage. It's just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I think that is just...
It's echoing through what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's just
all through my life.
Something that you experienced at a young age.
Yeah.
Is you're continuing to spread that feeling out. And I keep going to say this, and I'm probably going to we'll cut this bit, but you're touching so many children, aren't you? But no, you're genuinely touching so many children.
Legal disclaimer, that is a metaphorical touching of children, not an actual physical
way. But yeah.
Although I am DBS checked.
But you've managed to take this thing at a young age of 8 years old, this experience, and you've continued to drive that through everything you do in your life, haven't you? You've taken that creativity.
Some would argue that I've just never grown up, and that I've just been playing pretend my entire life. And I think, there's an element of that.
Is that a bad thing?
I suppose,
or is that a good thing with what you've been able to give to others? The messages you've spent, the entertainment that you've given, the knowledge that you've been able to spread, the businesses that you've set up.
That's an interesting question. That is an interesting question. I do believe there probably is a little bit of a legacy. I will be remembered by some people as that teacher who inspired them. I do have, a few students that have gone off and become, professionals in the industry. Whether that was because they had always, they had the same drive as me, and
or
also
whether
because
you'd inspired them,
or whether I was part of their
in some way.
Yeah, one piece of their jigsaw. Which would be nice, it goes back to what I said earlier, is that my validation that I have made an impression on somebody, and will be remembered for that. I want people to be entertained, generally. Whether that is
is it just the entertainment though? Is it just someone sitting back and mindlessly being entertained, or is it something of more, like you just touched on, more of a legacy or the inspiration that you're able to
I suppose
give to others?
If I've inspired people, that'd be nice. That would be nice. I just kind of stumbled through life, to be perfectly honest. I've taken the opportunities when they've arrived.
Yeah.
I am happy with my lot. You know, I'm content. I would probably like to do more acting and directing, but only in like an amateur capacity. And yeah, I like the fact that if there was somebody out there that kind of said, "Oh, we did Santa on Zoom, and it's like the best, you know, that sort of validation. Like Santa on Zoom is the best online Santa you're ever going to get." That would be a great legacy to have. You know, that was something that I did, that I achieved, and that will remain forever in. You know, the good thing with the internet is that things go on the internet and it's there in perpetuity.
No, but even that one child, that one family.
Yeah.
That you changed. You know, you put a piece of the puzzle there.
Yeah.
A piece of the jigsaw of that person's life.
Yeah. Yeah. If I will, that'd be nice to be that person that will always be. Oh, do you remember when we did this? And that bloke was great, wasn't he? Yeah, that'd be lovely.
Yeah. I think you've also managed to do this in having done business with you, and Santa on Zoom is a business, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
you've managed to make a successful business over the past 3 or 4 years.
I mean, you know, it's very tricky because it's very limited on when the business operates.
Yes, it comes up at one time.
So people have said, "Oh, what did you do Easter Bunny?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know what Easter Bunny would talk about, really." You know.
Yeah, but
yeah. Did you find your egg? Yeah.
But at that time of year, you're successful. You have something that you can go to that will generate you an income.
Yeah.
That will serve you creatively as well.
Yeah.
And that legacy
gives me my performance fix.
It gives you your performance fix once a year. So it does good for you, and it does good for your bank account.
Yeah, it's good for the endorphins.
Exactly. And I wanted to go back to over the years how we've known each other and the business that we set up years ago, a small little business, Mr. Creator, didn't we?
Yes.
Tell me about that, the Mr. Creator, because that's what, its 10th year now, still running?
Oh, no. 2013 now, so this will be 13.
13 years.
In August.
Yeah. 13 years we managed to...
So that was sitting, having a Chinese, both of us unhappy with our...
Normal jobs that we were trying to do.
Yeah, I was a health and safety officer for a Swedish indoor air climate company.
And I was working in a bank.
Was it Lloyd's or Halifax?
At that time it was Halifax.
Halifax.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you came up with the idea of... Because I'd been doing... I did art, you know, creative, doing cards and stuff like that, and been doing creative stuff for like other people. And you said, why don't we monetize this?
Why don't we,
because you had this like website building program that you used.
Well, discovered that
and
building websites, you know, was something that we were capable of doing.
Yeah, we had creative flair, and you had a bit of sales experience, and
and I think that the sales experience came into it as well. There, didn't it? There was an experience from working a normal job and working in a bank that I could transfer over into starting up our own business. Yeah,
and some of those, I'll call them legacy customers now. A lot of them have gone by the way now because they've shut their business down, and so they've kind of like left Mr. Creator. But there is still, I don't do websites anymore because you stepped away from the business. It wasn't really my area of expertise. I'm more focused on the graphics.
That's kind of just what it got the ball.
It got the ball rolling. Yeah, exactly. So there are still some websites that exist that have continued with these legacy customers, and it's like I said, 13 years, and that has been the thing that has sort of kept it going, really, is that expectation of, well, I can't let these people down. Because there have been times where I've thought, you know what, especially when you had to step away from the business. It was me running on my own, and I ended up working elsewhere, and this career became very much something that was sitting in the background, just ticking over. It was kind of covering its own tiny costs, but it wasn't really doing anything as a business. And then I kind of ended up going, hang on a second, I've got this business here. I could be making profit for myself instead of working for other people and making profit for them. So it got reignited about 6 years ago, and it's kind of really kind of flourished since then.
So it's taken 13 years to get to this point of like flourishment, where
it had flourished before lockdown.
It did,
and
didn't
then
it?
when lockdown kicked in, nobody needed any graphics doing, because everyone was sitting on Canva at home, twiddling their thumbs and having to play around with stuff.
Yeah, and people weren't needing to hand out business cards.
No, exactly. Nobody. Yeah. So COVID was tough.
And people were. There was a period of time where everyone was a bit unsure of the future. So people were risk taking.
It was a good 18 months before Mr. Creator was back, sort of trading as normal. And really, it's this last tax year was sort of back to pre-pandemic levels of business. So it's had its challenges.
It's had its tough moments.
Yeah.
But talking of tough moments, I think that I find it really interesting looking back at those 13 years ago when me and you were in that Chinese, and I know we were in a similar situation at the time of both not liking our jobs, but I was in definitely a desperation time.
Yeah.
A desperation of my life needed to go in a different direction.
Yeah.
I needed to be in a different place of work, a different way to be making money. And looking back, I was in a bit of a black hole.
Yeah.
And I had to get out.
Yeah.
And through having to get out, we got out.
Well, I was in a very black hole.
You know,
because I was dealing with a major bout of depression at that point. You know, corporate burnout. I was, signed off with stress. So I was very much in a.
So we were both in a. We were both mirroring in the same place. And having been friends, and like you say, it was a night of a Chinese. We said to each other, "Let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's get out this way. Let's get out let's hold each other's hand and climb out of this hole." And we did. And I think in that first year, I always remember. I think we managed to make about 20,000 in that first year, didn't we? Something like that.
Yeah,
I know we went down
friends and family
because we reached out to people, didn't we? We said we reached out to our friends and family. Why not?
We reached out. We pounded the streets.
We walked the streets with leaflets,
yeah.
And we spoke to everyone we know, and we said, "This is what we can do. This is how we can help you."
Yeah, and that was the start.
But we'd like to take some money for that.
Yeah,
That
was also when Thompson Promotion started as well. So I started doing hiring in tribute acts to this theatre and selling tickets. So I'd pay for the act to turn up, and then I would sell the tickets, and everyone was happy. So that was I basically had to start kind of thinking, right, how am I going to cover my share of the household bills and things like that
through not having a 9 to 5,
through not having a 9 to 5 job,
that doesn't necessarily serve you.
No,
it never served me.
Well,
it served me in the sense that I could pay the rent, I could pay and there was a comfort and security in that normal income every month.
There is a certain sense of financial stability that you get from a 9 to 5 job that you don't get from performing arts. That's what I was saying about if you're getting into acting for being rich and famous, what you've got to learn is that probably even more than that. It's probably like 98% now of all actors
are unemployed. Yeah,
because David Tennant's getting all the jobs, or Margot Robbie, or Olivia Colman.
Well, even if you sat down with a pen and paper and tried to write down how all the names you can think of on TV and film.
Yeah.
And then you went, okay, now how many people are actors? It would be 99.9%.
Yeah, probably.
You know, and even if you're lucky enough to get into a show where you're paid to be in the show, you know, that's very far and few between as well. And it only often is for a short period of time, if that. So you often get a contract for 2 or 3 months.
So
you need to earn a living.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And you know, if you do have other strings to your bows, where you've got access to like a local venue where you could kind of put on your own shows and generate a bit of income that way. If you can generate profit that you can then put back into it, so that you could then maybe end up hiring a theatre in London Fringe or going to Edinburgh with your show and things like that. If you've got the ability to write and produce your own material, that is your way of getting in. That's how Phoebe Waller-Bridge started. You know, she had her one-woman show, Fleabag, that she took to Edinburgh. It got spotted. It then got bought into a theatre in London where she performed it. Somebody saw it and went, "We'd love to develop this." It then became a two-series sitcom.
And 10 years later, she's with Spielberg and Harrison Ford.
Exactly. There are,
but again, that happens few and far between. So you have to bring in the realism. You have to be okay. So if this process doesn't happen for me, I need to also be thinking about this.
Yeah.
And we managed to do that, didn't we? We managed to find a way to do that with starting Mr. Creator.
Yeah. And there is the potential of, you know, where that might take us. You know, with Mr. Creator, I've started to kind of expand a bit more on the video production side of things.
And that took you down one road, and it took me down a different road as well.
Yeah.
You know, but still pursuing the creative stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And how does that make you feel compared to that 13 years ago? To think of getting out of that dark place that you was in, how do you feel now?
I mean, we're going to go down a slightly different chat about mental health here, but I'm in a good place at the minute. I've had moments where I've not been in a good place. Depression is something that I know that I have to manage. And the best way of managing it is by keeping busy and ensuring that my day-to-day existence is varied, that I don't get brought down by the monotony of repetitive tasks and doing the same old. Are we? What's the? Are we? Can we swear on this, or is it?
Yeah, we'll bleep it out.
Yeah, same old shit day in day out, basically. Also, understanding that going to the gym is good, keeping
Physical
physically
health
fit,
is good for.
and also having a dog, going out for walks.
Yes,
that's been really good as well. So yeah. If you'd have said 13 years ago, this is where you're going to be, I'd have bitten your hand off, actually. I'd be like, yeah, great.
I think you'd be proud of yourself with where you've come.
Oh, absolutely.
So the journey. It's not sunshine and roses all the way.
No.
But the rewards that you've reaped in this time have been far greater than what they would have done staying where you were.
Yes.
Staying in that position.
Yeah.
You moved forward.
I did move forward.
Yeah, and that direction was a little bit scary at first, a little bit daunting.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's had some moments. Like I say, I had to step away from the business because of my troubles I was having.
Yeah.
So it wasn't always, hasn't always been great. But it's been far better than if we'd have stuck on that path. For two creatives, being stuck in that place of
being shackled
to a desk, to being in an office, being under someone else's control.
Oh
yeah. It wasn't what we could do with our what we're here. You know what we could do with our lives.
Yeah.
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 it just doesn't fit with what we're here for.
It's not who we are.
That's not who we are.
No.
We wouldn't be being true to ourselves.
No,
and not being true to ourselves, for me, I find is one of the most painful things to experience.
Yeah.
That's when I go into a dark place.
Yeah.
When I'm not being my authentic self, when I'm not being true to what I should be doing.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Well, this is
nice,
isn't it?
Yeah.
This is a pleasant way to spend the time.
It's not bad. Sitting here talking to one of your best friends.
I feel what we need is like a glass of brandy and a cigar. Although I did quit smoking quite a while ago, so I don't know whether that.
The look.
Yeah, I'd just be coughing and choking my way through.
Maybe we'll come back to this in 30 years from now.
Have
a glass of brandy and a cigar.
Very, very nice. I was terribly, terribly drunk at the time.
So talking about 30, coming back to this in 30 years from now, we've talked a lot about your past, Jim. What about the future? What's the future bring for you? What's next? Any more shows on the horizon? You getting back into theatre?
Yeah, I'd like to do another show next year. I was in the last one. I'd quite like to direct again. So it's just finding the right vehicle, really, the right script. And there's I would like with Mr. Creator to expand the video production side of things. I do find that I'll get quite a good buzz from that. And yeah, just basically get to a point in the I want every year to be better than the last year. To have bigger things achieved, more profit in the bank. Because it's all fine and well doing this for the love of doing it, but at the end of the day, we've still got bills that we need to pay and things we want to do. And
it'd still be nice to go on a holiday.
Exactly. And that's been a big thing for me over the last few years, is ensuring that I've got enough money to kind of go and have proper breaks away from. It's all fine and well saying, oh, well, I'll have a week off, but you're still around the house doing bits and bobs. So it's never
exactly.
You don't really fully unwind like you do when you go away. So that's been nice. I would like, to have the finance to be able to do that. It'd still be nice to kind of maybe put one of Andrew's plays on in London. I think
Andrew,
my brother-in-law, Andrew Brownell.
Yeah.
I think his plays are good. I think they're worthy of a bigger audience. So it would be nice to have that, to kind of go, yeah, we did that. I think at the end of the day, you've got to every year try and do something that you've never done before, because then it makes the year a bit more worthwhile. It's like, well, we've gone through another year, because trust me, the rate that we get through these years as you get older,
it's speeding up, isn't it? That's for sure.
Well, it's all to do with theory of relativity, isn't it?
What's that? The closer you get to
Einstein's theory of relativity. So as time goes by, it goes quicker.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason for that, so as a kid, right, if you're 6 years old, a year is a whole sixth of your life. It's a big chunk of that pie. So imagine your entire life as a circle, as a pie chart. So as a 6-year-old, that 1 year is a sixth of your life. As a now 47-year-old, a year is now a tiny sliver of that pie. And as every year adds on, each pie, slice gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So as we perceive it, every year is going by quicker, and will continue to get quicker until we die. Until we die. Which, could be next week.
So in that time we need to fill
Cheery
it could be as you leave the building.
Yeah, I could trip over, land on a spike, who knows.
It could be over before this podcast is released.
Oh my God,
could you imagine that?
I could.
This could be your final chat. Any final words, Jim?
It's been lovely. I've loved life. and look after everybody and look after the earth. Thank you.
We'll sure to play that at your funeral.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, if
No,
you're
we're
going to play
playing
this
this
at
at
your
your
funeral,
funeral, there's got to be a joke
then
in this
what I
somewhere.
want to say at my funeral is I hope you're all really crying lots. I don't want any happiness. I want you all to really grieve the loss of my life on this planet.
You know I'm playing this if I die before, if you die before. I'm not sure Jane would approve.
No, probably not. Yeah.
Maybe I'll play
One
the
thing
side
I have
room.
said to Jane, though,
Pardon?
is that I would like the Galaxy song from Monty Python's Meaning of Life to be played at my funeral.
What's the Galaxy song?
The Galaxy song is the, if you look at Monty Python's Meaning of Life, this is a song that happens around about the middle of the film, just as a character has been asked for their spleen or liver. It's the live organ transplant section of the film, and it's a song sung by Eric Idle, which basically goes on about how big the universe is and how insignificant our individual lives are here on Earth. Because in the grand scheme of things,
I don't think I know this song. I know it's quite classic to always look on the bright side of life.
Okay, so you Google the Galaxy song.
Could you give me a verse?
Just remember that we're standing on a planet that's evolving and revolving at 900 miles an hour. I don't know the rest of the words, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to look that up.
Yeah.
So we'll be playing that
I'll have to look at the lyrics of that,
along with a moment from this podcast.
Yeah, and hoping that I've just you don't want me singing the whole time. That's another podcast. Jim sings Monty Python. Yes, followed by I'll start off with the Galaxy song, follow off with I Like Chinese, which is incredibly racist and you could never get away with public broadcasting anymore. And then the penis song, or the not the Noel Coward song, as it's also known. I could go on with Monty Python really.
Just in general, or
in general.
So this isn't for your
Monty
funeral
Python.
anymore. This is what we'll
I've used Monty Python in numerous cases all through my life, especially in teaching. Monty Python is very good at teaching kids.
I wanted to ask you about this, actually.
What?
Your inspirations for some of your creativeness. Would you say, so I know Monty Python is a huge inspiration for you.
Doctor Who, which actually I sort of got into anyway as a kid. But I discovered Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, and then discovered that actually quite a lot of Tom Baker's Doctor Who stories were written by Douglas Adams. And it's that creativity of off-the-wall bonkersness that I've enjoyed. As a kid, I grew up watching a lot of Laurel and Hardy, so the slapstick comedy of that. In fact, I wrote my dissertation for my BTEC HND drama on the humour of Laurel and Hardy and how they're still, as popular, maybe not as popular as today now as they were, but you say Laurel and Hardy and you know who they are.
Everyone knows, yeah.
Although maybe the generation of today don't, which is probably frustrating. And I think the one thing that the youth of today needs to do is read more, learn more about general history.
Are we at that age now where we're
disgruntled
by the youth?
Grumpy old man, yes.
The youth
so
of
go
today,
back to
every generation's getting worse and worse.
Yeah, exactly. But I did say I'll go.
But when you were a kid, didn't you hear that? Didn't you? I remember being at school and being like told we're the worst generation yet, and isn't every generation the worst one yet?
Oh yeah, and humanity will descend into a pit of absolute shit. I think that's just what's going to happen, really.
Or is it change?
Oh well, I think.
Or we're just seeing change, and as we get to this age, we don't necessarily understand the change.
I feel that whilst technology is great and has enabled us to expand our knowledge, especially with the internet, even though the internet is biased, because we can only learn what people have decided to put on there. Whether that is true or not is, down to other off-internet learning that we can do, which is why I think people need to read more and not just off the internet. There is a certain element of segregation that has happened, and we are totally going off subject now, but I feel the generations that are coming through now are basically saying, well, this is just who we are, accept it. And whilst that's all fine and well for mental well-being, there is a certain degree of people don't care about other people anymore, because they just go, well, that is just how it is, accept it. And there's a certain degree of respect that's being lost. And
respect, they may say, and these are all just questions. Respect for
other people's feelings.
I guess what we're starting to, our generation of feeling and seeing is this kind of, this lack of empathy empathy and care towards anyone else.
Lack of respect is what I see it as. It's the disrespect of, I am the most important thing. I don't really care about anything else. As long as I'm happy, doesn't matter about anything else. Now we're supposed to be, the generation, or the next generation is supposed to be the generation that was going to save the planet. Well, they're not going to save the planet with that attitude, because it's all self. You've got to be putting it out there for the rest of the planet if you're going to salvage anything. We look at Star Trek and things like that as this is potentially where humanity is going. Well, I can't see us getting anywhere off this planet or there being anything left if this is the sort of attitude that keeps on going.
Is the way that the media is consumed now, because it's a hell of a lot different now than when we were younger.
Yeah.
Do you think that's got anything to do with it?
I think the way that we process information has a lot to do with it. I think the quality of the information. It goes back to what I said a moment ago, how I feel that the younger generation, if it's not on social media or TikTok or any sort of stream, then they're not interested.
See, as a parent, I struggled with a long time with trying to keep my children away from social media.
Yeah.
And trying to keep them away from that kind of thing of online communities, because I wanted them to be involved with real world communities.
Yeah.
However, the real world communities have kind of disappeared for their generation.
Yeah.
For instance, my son doesn't go out so much. He's on his PlayStation because that's where his friends are. There isn't, they don't hang out at the park or go to X place, or they don't go to a thing anymore.
But then that's where theatre comes back in.
Where theatre comes in. Why is that important?
Because it gives you community. If you turn up to an audition, let's go back to 97. I moved down from Newcastle to Harlow, knowing nobody apart from my immediate family. And I happened to get a job, and my line manager happens to say, so what do you do? What is it? Oh, I've just moved down from Newcastle. I've just done an acting course. So I'm hoping to go into London and get some acting work. Oh, my daughter is involved at the Harlow Playhouse. I can put you in contact with them. So that was June, and by that September I auditioned, because I got introduced to people at the Playhouse. I auditioned for the Panther that year and got a part. And if I hadn't have had theatre, I wouldn't have the life that I've got now.
No, that's for sure.
I wouldn't have met my wife.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't, you know, that. And when you get involved in theatre, especially like amateur theatre, everyone has their own work, job, background, experiences. But the one commonality is the fact that you want to do theatre. And you might go see shows, you might enjoy the same sort of things, you might be a musical person. So then you might have been to see the same musicals, you might like the same actors or performers. You've got commonalities that you can talk about, and you have that community. And especially, you know, with this building, it was owned by Essex County Council. The playhouse had closed because the playhouse had, the council had closed the playhouse due to apparently some sort of funding issue. And all of the people from there descended into this. It was a youth hall, youth theatre,
Youth club.
Yeah, that was it. It tend not to exist anymore, youth clubs, do they?
No.
That's why I was struggling to find the words. It was a youth club from Essex County Council, and the actors built a stage, a makeshift stage, and they put in some seats, and they started doing their shows from here. And this became a new community. You know, there was a community that existed in the playhouse, and whilst the venue closed down, the community still existed and thrived and just moved to another place. And that community then, over the years, evolved into what now is the Victoria Hall Performing Arts Association, that bought this building off Essex County Council. How many other communities would you know do that sort of thing? And you know, we've
and how that's enriched your life,
it's
my life,
so many lives,
so many lives, and everyone that's involved. So is that your message to the youth then? Get involved with theatre.
Get involved with a group. Get involved with community.
With community.
Whether that is helping out at an old folks' home, chatting to the old folk, learning about their history, learning about everything they've been through, everything they sacrificed so that they could sit and stream Netflix in their comfort of their, central heated house.
Learn from others is what you're saying.
Learn from others. Yeah. Learn, ask questions, find out things. Be as knowledgeable as you can possibly be, because it will inform your choices in life. What you want to do, who you want to become, what sort of legacy you want to leave. And if you are that way inclined, get involved in local theatre. There's a lot of people poo-poo amateur dramatics and things like that, but we've got lots of people who have done amateur theatre who have gone on to bigger and better things. You know, Brian Herring, he did amateur theatre. He's been in all of the new Star Wars movies. He now goes to Comic-Con conferences as BB-8 and things like that. David Gadani from EastEnders, he was Puck on this very stage as a 9-year-old, and has gone on to do TV and, you know, Strictly Come Dancing. You know, a lot of people have gone, oh my God, I'd love to do Strictly. Well, you know, there are routes that you can go down. And there are other aspiring professional actors who started off on this stage.
But what we're getting to here as well is it's not just the profession, and it's not just the career or as you've had this career path or these jobs or these businesses. It's about the people.
Yeah, it's about the people. It's about the people that you meet, the people that you rub along with, that you can help out or can help you or can
make friends.
You know,
and make friends and meet wives and husbands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And other life skills. You know, you learn how to talk to other people of other generations and other backgrounds, and be open and accepting. You know, the amount of gay friends or people who are, you know, transitioned or who are cross-dressers or, you know, whatever label that they want to have, whether they're a him,
all walks of life,
or a lamppost, or what, you know, whatever it is that you want to identify as. That was just, I don't know what that, I said lamppost, but yeah, it's as performers, as creatives, you are just accepting. You know, are you a nice person? Yes, great. Then we can be friends.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope somebody's been listening to this.
Oh, I hope nobody's listening.
God, we went off on a right tangent here.
So before we wrap this up, I wanted to ask you something that's quite relevant at the moment, hot topic, and
cookers. They're hot.
Any other hot topic?
Air fryers. Air fryers.
Air fryers. Air fryers. I only discovered air fryers within the last year. And it's changed my life using an air fryer.
Okay, I was just joking about air fryers, but never mind.
But the hot topic at the moment is AI. Now, the reason I wanted to talk to you about AI is because I talk to a lot of creative people, and there are some different opinions. But you're someone
before we talk any more about AI, I'll have to say, if we decide to go on this subject, I will go on strike. Yeah, I shall, in solidarity with my other creative brothers and sisters.
Well, there is some definite dangers there in AI, isn't there? Some worries for creativity. Yes.
Maybe we'll
the reason that I wanted to talk to you is.
Do we not save this for another podcast?
We could save this for another podcast, if you like. We could save this for next time
because this could go on.
This could go on. This is a deep, as you deep subject.
It's a hot topic.
Hot topic.
There's a lot going on in the industry.
So I'll leave it with this then. That there are some benefits to AI.
Yeah.
And you've discovered some ways to use AI to support you.
Yeah.
But there are also some dangers for creatives and for actors, for writers, for filmmakers.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are a lot of unknowns ahead of us.
Yes, there's a lot of opportunities, but there are also things that are going to further restrict anybody new trying to get into the business. And that is why people are striking. But
we'll save that for part 2. So
save that for part 2, yeah.
Well, I would like to come back to this in about maybe 10 or 15 episodes time.
Lovely.
This conversation.
Yeah.
See if we can see
to be
how
honest, there's so much we could have spoken about.
There is a lot more.
I mean, how many episodes do you think we've got in just us two alone?
Well,
many.
There is a lot for us to talk about.
I'll be the person who you come to when you've run out of guests for a while. Like, oh Jim, I'll run out of people. Can you come and have a chat with me? All right.
We'll find it.
But
but I think the most important thing with episode 1 is we did episode 1.
Yeah, we did episode 1.
That was it. The most important thing is getting started, and we got started.
Yeah, it's good.
We did it today.
So
this was the beginning.
Tell everyone if they've got if they've got too much time on their hands and got nothing on in their lives,
then
to come listen to us for rambling on. Or alternatively, if you're on like a long car journey,
perfect.
Yeah. Like I don't know how long we've been talking.
I don't know. We may edit this down a bit, but I think this is.
I mean,
it's quarter to 12, Jim. Have you not got something to be?
Yeah, I do have something to be. Yeah,
it's quarter so a good few hours.
So yeah,
it's still got.
If you like driving from London to Edinburgh, we'll give you the unedited version. But if Martin then edits out anything that isn't really that important, you can probably drive from Hull to Stortford.
We'll see. Well, thank you, Jim. I
Cheers,
appreciate it this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
All right.
Good work. So that was the first episode done and dusted with Jim Thompson. What was important about doing that first episode was that we got it done. There have been some mistakes, some errors. my interviewing technique is something to be desired and something for me to work on. But the thing is, I couldn't work on it unless I did it. So you have to get started. You have to start being bad. You have to go through the struggles and the pains and the disappointments and the errors to try and make something better and to try and make something good. And you also have to be brave and put that thing out there into the world and let others judge it, which I'm sure they will do. There may be some moments in there which you can have a laugh at. So you can't even get my words right, and I'm doing a podcast. But yeah, it's just important to start. Not let anything stop you in the beginning, because there's going to be a lot of obstacles and a lot of things, a lot of barriers in your way. But now that we're going, I hope to put one of these podcasts out there every week, and I hope and look forward to the journey that these podcasts may take me on. And I'm glad that you're coming along with me. So thank you. I'm very grateful. Gratitude. That's what we need to bring up in a podcast. We need to talk about gratitude. So if there's anyone in particular you'd like me to reach out at, or if you would like to have a conversation about your creative life, creative needs, creative wants, get in contact with me. Let's have a conversation and let's see if we can spread some inspiration and create a legacy. Done.